The Zarnak Empire had conquered over 100 planets. They had strong ships, powerful weapons, and advanced minds. No one ever stopped them. No one ever dared to fight back. So, when the Zarnak leaders chose Earth as their next target, they expected an easy victory. Commander Varl stood on the bridge of the warship Voidfang, looking down at Earth. The blue and green planet turned slowly below them. It looked peaceful, weak. "They don't even know we're here," said Captain Zoril. "No defense satellites, no warning systems. It will be over in 2 days." Commander Varl smiled. "Perfect. Begin the invasion." The sky over Earth turned dark as Zarnak ships entered the atmosphere. New York, London, Tokyo, Paris. Each major city was hit in the first wave. Bright beams of energy destroyed tall buildings. Power grids failed. Panic spread across the globe. The humans were confused, scared. Some ran, some screamed. Others tried to fight with bullets and missiles, but nothing worked against Zarnak shields. Cities fell quickly. Fires burned. Smoke rose into the air. Everything was going exactly as planned. Varl watched it all from space, pleased. "I told them Earth would be easy," he said. But down below, something unexpected was happening. In New York, a small group of human soldiers had regrouped in a ruined subway tunnel. They had lost communication with their commanders. Their radios were jammed, but still they refused to give up. Sergeant Cole wiped the dust from his face. His uniform was torn and blood stained his hands. But his eyes were sharp, angry. "We don't have much left," said one of his men. "No air support, no orders. What now?" Cole looked around the tunnel. Then he spoke. "We fight. We make them bleed. We show them this isn't over." The group nodded. They began preparing homemade traps, explosives hidden in cars, wires across streets, snipers on rooftops. They knew they couldn't win, but they could make the enemy hurt. Above them, Zarnak scout units moved through the city ruins. They walked in straight lines, searching for survivors. Their tall metal suits made loud stomping sounds on the ground. One patrol reached a quiet street. Everything looked empty, silent. Then, boom, a fireball exploded from under a parked car. 2 Zarnak soldiers flew through the air. The rest were hit by gunfire from above. The humans struck fast, then disappeared into the shadows. Commander Varl watched the report from New York. His smile faded. "What happened to the patrol?" he asked. Captain Zoril replied, "They were ambushed. We lost contact." "They ambushed us?" Varl frowned. "With what? Their weapons are useless." Zoril paused. "They use traps. Hit-and-run attacks. It's strange. They don't fight like others. They're adapting." Varl stared at the screen. It showed blurry video from the patrol's helmet cam. Flames, gunfire, and a human soldier walking through the smoke. Face, cold and fearless. "This one didn't run," said Zoril. "He looked angry," said another officer. Varl's eyes narrowed. "Send more scouts. I want this human found." Across the planet, similar reports began to arrive. Zarnak patrols were being hunted at night. Small groups of humans were fighting in ways the Zarnak had never seen before. Not with numbers, not with power, but with something different. Will. Back in the tunnel, Sergeant Cole held a stolen Zarnak rifle. It hummed in his hands. "Think they've won?" he said quietly. "Let's show them the real fight is just beginning." As night fell over Earth, Commander Varl stood silently on the bridge. For the first time, he felt something strange. Something he hadn't felt in many years. Doubt. Maybe Earth was not as weak as it looked. Darkness had covered the city now. Smoke still floated in the air. Lights were gone, streets were empty. Buildings stood like broken bones, quiet and still. The Zarnak patrols moved carefully through the ruins, expecting silence and control. But something had changed. They were being watched. Scout Unit K9 had not returned from its last mission. It was sent into the lower districts of the city to look for hiding humans. Its signal disappeared. No alarm, no warning, just silence. Commander Varl stared at the screen. Send another team. Double the number. Find out what happened. 2 patrol teams landed in the same area. They moved through the streets with scanners and searchlights. Nothing. Empty cars. Fallen signs. Open doors. They saw no movement. But one Zarnak soldier noticed something strange. A traffic light was blinking, even though the power grid had failed 2 days ago. He walked closer, confused. A flash of light, a sudden sound. The soldier's signal vanished. The others turned quickly, but no enemy was in sight. No human, no machine, just the wind. Then another signal dropped. Then another. Within minutes, half the patrols were gone. No signs, no answers, no bodies. Back on the ship, the control room was quiet. Officers watched as red marks disappeared from the city map, one by one. No one spoke. They are not attacking in the open, said Zoril quietly. They are choosing the time and place. Commander Varl clenched his hands behind his back. This is not a battle. This is something else. He turned to the science officer. What are they doing? The officer answered slowly. They are using their environment. They know the city better than we do. They are adjusting. Across the ruined city, rumors began to spread among the Zarnak troops. They move like shadows. They see us before we see them. They don't sleep. Some Zarnak soldiers refused to go on night patrols. Others asked for transfer to the orbiting ships. Fear had entered the minds of the invaders, something they were not trained for. But deep underground in the dark subway tunnels, the humans were not afraid. Sergeant Cole listened to the radio. It was filled with strange signals, scrambled messages, static, broken words. But one thing was clear: the humans were not alone. Other groups had survived, in Chicago, in Berlin, in Tokyo, and they were fighting back. One voice came through clearly, strong and calm. If you can hear this, you are not defeated. We are still here. We are not running. Cole smiled for the first time in days. He looked at his small team, tired, dirty, wounded, but alive. They don't understand us, he said. They think we'll give up. But we're not like other worlds. We're human. We fight when we have nothing left. He looked at the map drawn on the wall. It showed Zarnak patrol paths, drop zones, and weak points. The humans had been watching, too, and now it was their turn to move. Above, a Zarnak officer named Relmar was walking through a damaged building. His scanner beeped, showing a signal nearby. He followed it into a hallway, a flicker of movement. He raised his scanner again, but the signal was gone. He turned around quickly. Nothing. He called for backup. No reply. Then, a message appeared on his visor screen, written in English. You are not welcome here. His hands shook. The Zarnak command received another report. Lost signal, no reply. Another unit gone. Commander Varl looked at the growing list. How many now? He asked. 17, Zoril said. And rising. Varl gave no reply. He only stared at the planet below. For the first time, he realized they had made a mistake. They hadn't just attacked a weak world. They had awakened something stronger than they ever expected. Something that could not be seen. Something that refused to be broken. Something human. The Zarnak control room was silent again. No one celebrated. No one spoke of victory. The screen showed city after city marked in red, not because the Zarnak had taken control, but because their teams were no longer responding. Commander Varl stood with his arms crossed. He watched the Earth turning slowly. On the central monitor, we underestimated them, he finally said. His officers didn't answer. They knew it was true. In every city, humans were moving differently now. They were not just hiding, they were planning. Zarnak teams sent into quiet neighborhoods never returned. Sensors picked up strange signals that couldn't be traced. Even their flying drones were being pulled from the sky or losing contact without warning. The science officer tapped his screen. They are changing their methods. They don't fight us directly, but they are thinking faster. Each day they become harder to find. Commander Varl turned sharply. They don't have the same level of technology. How can they adjust this fast? The science officer looked up. They learn by watching. They don't need our level of tech. They need only time, and they are using it well. In a cold basement below the ruins of a government building, Sergeant Cole and his small team studied a broken Zarnak scanner. One of the younger soldiers, Ava, worked on its wires using simple tools. This thing is far ahead of our systems, she said, but it's not impossible to understand. Cole nodded. Can we use it against them? Not yet, Ava said, but we're getting closer. Another soldier marked positions on a paper map. They had learned Zarnak patrol times and areas. The humans were now predicting movement before it even happened. Their minds had become their most powerful tool. Meanwhile, in a forest outside a small town, a group of Zarnak scouts moved slowly among the trees. Their lights scanned every branch, every rock, every shadow. They expected something to happen, but nothing did. They reached a clearing. The scanner beeped once, then silence. The leader raised a hand. Check again, he ordered, but the signal had already disappeared. From the ship above, the command center tracked the patrol's signal. It blinked once, then it stopped. Commander Varl looked at the blinking icon on the screen. He pressed a button. Are they gone? Zoril nodded slowly. No message. No reply. Commander Varl didn't move. It's not a mistake anymore, he said. They are testing us. Later that night, the humans began sending short, clear messages across old radio waves. They didn't send threats. They sent knowledge. To other human groups in other cities, they shared simple plans. Safe zones, patrol routes, weak points in Zarnak equipment. They used code words, old frequencies, even paper notes dropped by drones. They had no leader, no headquarters. But they were becoming something stronger, united. In a dark tunnel beneath the old railway lines, Cole listened as more voices came through. We are still here. We're learning from them. We don't need more power, we need more time. He smiled quietly. They thought this was about weapons, he said, but it's about ideas, and they can't erase that. Back on the Zarnak warship, worry had replaced confidence. We've never seen this before, said one officer. They lose ground but come back stronger, each time. Commander Varl stared at the planet. They are not reacting with fear, he said. They're reacting with purpose. A message came in from one of the outer posts. It was short. If you don't understand humans yet, wait longer. Commander Varl turned off the screen. They had expected a short mission. They had expected a world that would surrender quickly. But now they were facing something else, something that didn't give up. Something that learned from every step, and it was clear they were not the hunters anymore. The sun was setting over the ruined city, casting long shadows across broken streets and shattered glass. The air was thick with dust and quiet whispers of what had been lost. But beneath the calm, a new energy was rising. Commander Varl watched from his ship above. The Zarnak forces had expected Earth's cities to collapse like falling towers, but now something was different. The cities were fighting back. Reports came in quickly. Zarnak patrols returned from their missions with scratches and dents on their armor, but no longer with easy victories. Patrols found empty streets, but then signs of preparation. Lights flickered on in hidden corners. Strange symbols marked walls. Barricades appeared in alleys. The humans were not running. They were standing. A message appeared on the central screen. It was a video, shaky but clear. It showed a group of civilians, men, women, even children, working together. They carried tools, repaired damaged drones, and passed out supplies. The video's voice was calm but strong. We are not waiting to be defeated. We are making our home a place no one can take. Varl frowned. He turned to Zoril. Why are they doing this? They have no chance. Zoril shook his head. Because they believe in something bigger than chance. Below the surface, in the subway tunnels, Sergeant Cole and his team prepared for their next move. They had learned to listen to the sounds of the city, the movements of their enemies, and the whispers of their own people. "We need to make this city more than a place to hide," Cole said. "We need to make it a fortress." The group worked day and night. They set up hidden cameras, laid cables for communication, and built traps, not to harm, but to slow the enemy's progress. They created safe paths for civilians to move without being seen. More people joined them. Teachers, engineers, students, and shopkeepers, all using what they knew to help. A young woman named Mia had found an old Zarnak drone and learned to control. She flew it silently over patrol routes, sending back valuable information. "This is not just war," Mia said quietly. "It's survival, and we will do whatever it takes." On the streets, the Zarnak troops felt the change. Where once humans ran, now they stood their ground. They did not attack, but they did not disappear. They used the city's maze of alleys and buildings to confuse and slow down patrols. They distracted them with false signals and strange noises. They worked together to avoid capture. Zarnak soldiers grew tired and frustrated. One officer whispered, "They fight like shadows. We never know where they will appear." Another said, "It's not the weapons we should fear. It's their will." Commander Varl called an emergency meeting. "The humans are not what we expected," he said. "Their cities are becoming traps. Their people are united and their courage is growing." Zorl stepped forward. "We need a new plan. Our old ways won't work here." The scientists suggested new technology. Scanners that could see through walls, drones that could fly without being detected. But even with new tools, the humans adapted quickly. "They are not just fighting us," one scientist said. "They are learning from us, and every time we change, they change faster." Back in the tunnel, Sergeant Cole stood before his team. "We've lost much," he said, "but this city is ours. Not because of buildings or weapons, but because of the people. We protect each other." The team nodded. They knew the fight was not just for survival, it was for hope. Outside, the city lights began to flicker back. People came out of hiding, repairing power lines and clearing debris. The sound of life returned. From above, Commander Varl watched Earth with a growing respect and a new fear. The fight for the planet was far from over, and humanity was only beginning to show its strength. Night settled deep over the planet. The stars blinked quietly, watching Earth's silent battle unfold below. Commander Varl paced on the bridge of the warship, restless. This was no ordinary fight. The humans were changing everything. Reports kept arriving, scattered groups of humans acting like one. They moved faster, smarter, no longer afraid, no longer hiding. They found new ways to challenge the Zarnak. Each time the Zarnak tried to advance, they found their paths blocked or their equipment failing. "This is not a war of strength anymore," Varl said. "It's a war of minds." Below, in a small town that once bustled with life, the streets were quiet, but not empty. Small groups of humans moved carefully, communicating with signals and gestures. Sergeant Cole stood on a rooftop, watching the glow of distant fires and the flicker of lights turning on in hidden buildings. His eyes were sharp, his mind racing. "With plans, we're not just surviving," he told his team. "We're building. Every day we get stronger. Every day they learn more about us and we learn more about them." Mia, the young woman who had mastered the drone, flew it silently through the sky. The small machine carried messages, images, and hope. It circled the city like a quiet guardian, always alert. Suddenly, a signal came through her headset. A coded message from another group miles away. "We found an old communications hub. It still works." A cheer rose quietly from the team. Communication meant connection. Connection meant strength. Back on the warship, Commander Varl called his officers together. "We need to understand humans better," he said. "Not just their weapons, but their spirit, their unity." One officer hesitated. "But they have no advanced technology. How can they fight like this?" Varl looked out the window, watching Earth's swirling clouds. Because they have something we don't, he said quietly. They have hope. In a hidden bunker, human leaders gathered. Not generals or commanders. Just people who cared. They shared stories of survival. They shared ideas for building stronger defenses. They shared memories of the world before the invasion, a world worth fighting for. One man stood up. We can't just wait. We have to show them who we are. Not with weapons, but with our minds, our courage, our will. The group nodded. Plans were drawn. Safe routes mapped. Signals sent. We are more than victims, the man said. We are humans, and this is our home. Outside, the Zarnak soldiers grew tired. Their confidence was shaken. Every day they faced new challenges, not from weapons, but from a people who refused to give up. Zoral approached Commander Varl. They are changing the battle. We may win fights, but we are losing the war. Varl's eyes were hard. We must find their heart, find the reason they fight. As dawn broke, the humans moved again, not as scattered groups, but as a quiet force united by something deeper than fear or anger. Sergeant Cole watched the sunrise. He thought about the long fight ahead. We will not give up, he said softly, because this fight is not just about survival, it's about being human. The morning light stretched across the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Below, the city was stirring, not with fear, but with quiet determination. Commander Varl stood on the bridge of the warship, watching the planet that had refused to fall. The invasion was no longer about force. It was about understanding, respect, and the unbreakable will of a species that would not be silenced. Today will be different, Varl whispered. On the ground, Sergeant Cole gathered his team, faces tired but steady, hearts full of hope. We've come far, he said. Not because we had the strongest weapons, but because we never stopped believing. Mia's drone flew overhead, capturing every moment, a silent witness to a story of courage. The Zarnak thought we would break, Cole continued. But we grew stronger. We learned. We united. His team nodded, eyes shining with quiet pride. Across the city, people worked together. They repaired homes, shared food, and sent messages of peace and strength to others. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a promise. A promise that humanity would protect its home, not with hate or anger, but with heart and mind. Back. On the warship, Varl called a meeting. We came here expecting a simple victory, he said. But instead, we found something more. Zoral looked at him. They taught us what strength really means. We underestimated their spirit, Varl admitted, and now it's time to change how we see this world. And its people. On the streets, humans watched the skies, ready, but not with fear. With hope. They knew the road ahead would be long, but they were prepared, because they were not alone. They had each other. And that was enough. As the sun climbed higher, casting light on a world still standing strong, a message echoed quietly across the stars. We are human. We are many. And we will always fight. Not with violence, but with heart. The fight had changed, and so had the future.